Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and I've got a tag video for you today. I'm so excited to do this tag. I was tagged in the vacation book tag by both David Waldrop and Liz Schubert. So thanks guys very much for tagging me. I realize it's taken me a little while to do this tag, but I already had videos all scheduled for March because of March Mystery Madness. So we're doing it now in April. Check out both their channels. I'm going to link their channels down below. They're both great, so check them out. The vacation book tag was created by Steve Donahue, and I'm going to link the original video for that down below as well. So let's get into this. There are 9 questions in the vacation book tag. What's your favorite book about somebody taking a vacation? And I had to go with Agatha Christie here. This is Appointment with Death, and it totally counts because Hercule Poirot is taking a vacation in this book. So is the family, the Boyntons, Mrs. Boynton and her stepchildren are taking a vacation in this book, as well as a number of the other characters in this book. And so they end up, they start in Jerusalem and they end up in Petra. And so yeah, this is my favorite book about people taking a vacation. Do you read travel writing, and if so, what are some of your favorites? I don't actually tend to read a ton of travel writing. I am interested in other countries of the world. I just haven't really read a lot. But interestingly, I have acquired a few books recently that would totally count as travel writing. So I'm going to show them to you, even though I haven't read them yet. So they're not my favorites, but they count as travel writing. This is The 8:55 to Baghdad by Andrew Eames. And this just sounded so interesting. The Daily Mail calls it the best travel book of 2004. 2 terrific subjects: the surprisingly adventurous life of Agatha Christie and the major hotspots of current world politics. So you can see right away what attracted me to this book. What he does in this book, Andrew Eames is apparently a travel journalist, and he was in the ancient Syrian city of Aleppo when he met an elderly lady who had known Agatha Christie. Fascinated by the exotic history of this quintessentially English crime writer, he decided to retrace the trip from London to Baghdad, which she made in 1928, a journey which was to change Agatha Christie completely and lead to her other life as the wife of an archaeologist in the deserts of Syria and Iraq. Traveling from London to Baghdad by train on the eve of the Iraq War, through the troubled areas of the Balkans and the Middle East, Eames found stark contrasts to the old Orient Express route, as well as some unexpected connections with the past. This just sounds really interesting. I also picked up Paul Theroux's The Great Railway Bazaar. This was published in 1975, but he takes a trip by train through Asia. A strange, unique, and hugely entertaining railway odyssey. Fired by a fascination with trains that stemmed from childhood, Paul Theroux set out one day with the intention of boarding every train that chugged into view from Victoria Station in London to Tokyo Central, and to come back again via the Trans-Siberian Express. A couple more. This is Encore Provence by Peter Mayle, New Adventures in the South of France. So he wrote A Year in Provence, which I don't have, and this is his follow-up book to that, and I believe he wrote this many years later, but it's about his life in Provence and what it's like, and it just sounded really interesting. And also, can I just say, this is so pretty. It's such a great cover. Yeah. And then finally, Agatha Christie's The Grand Tour. Can you see that? It's awesome. Around the World with the Queen of Mystery. This is edited by Matthew Pritchard. Here is the back. an account of Agatha Christie's trip around the British Empire in 1922, told in never-before-published letters and photos taken from the Queen of Mysteries' very own archives. So there's just some great stories in here and pictures. Here she is on a ship. Oops. Let me see if I can, there we go. Let's see if I can find some more great pictures. There's just lots of different, and so yeah, it's just about her trip around the empire. So yeah, there's some travel books that I have. Third question, what are your books on vacation rituals? Now, this is a great question, and I laughed because I do totally have books on vacation rituals. I cannot stand the possibility that I might not have a book to read anywhere, but especially on vacation. And so our most recent vacation, my husband and I took a trip in July last summer, 2019, which perfectly encapsulates my books on vacation rituals, so I'm just going to share that story. We decided to do a trip around our province. We live in the south of Saskatchewan up here in Canada, and so we decided to travel to a few of the really small towns in our area, and then up to Saskatoon, which is the other city in Saskatchewan, which is about 3 hours away. And so we had 5 days for this vacation, and we decided to call it our book Odyssey. The whole plan was to visit libraries and bookstores in as many of these little towns as we could between Regina and Saskatoon. And so the whole purpose was to visit libraries and to visit bookstores, and we knew we were going to purchase books. We actually brought cardboard boxes with us to put our purchases in. And even knowing that, I still packed 8 books in my suitcase to read on this trip because I didn't want to be without a book possibility, and I couldn't guarantee that I would actually buy a book on the first day of this trip, even though of course I did. So I packed 8 books in my suitcase. However, I also cannot read in the car. I get car sick. So I got 14 audiobooks from the library to bring to listen to in the car while we drove, even though the longest space of time that we would drive was an hour and a half. So we had 14 audiobooks, and I had 8 books in my suitcase. So to start our trip, we drove 45 minutes south to a town called Moose Jaw, where we intended to visit the library and to visit a used bookstore in that town. The library was fantastic. It had this gorgeous dome on the inside. It was all marble stairs, and this gorgeous dome with this stained glass in it, and it was just beautiful. So we spent time browsing in the library, and of course we both came out of there with books. And then we visited the used bookstore, where we of course bought some books. And then we traveled north and visited some small towns. And then we kind of made Saskatoon our we stayed in Saskatoon. We found a hotel there, and then we just made little day trips out to villages or to smaller towns from there, plus visited bookstores in Saskatoon. So the first night when we arrived, in the evening after supper, there was a Value Village that was within walking distance to our hotel, so we went there and got a whole bunch of books from Value Village. That's a thrift store. And then the next day we visited 4 used bookstores in Saskatoon. And then we made a day trip out to Purdue, which is a very small town. I've got it in my notes here. It's population 334. But there is a massive used bookstore in that town. It is in the old bank. I'm going to include some pictures here so that you can see. And we spent about 3 hours in that used bookstore in this town of Purdue that doesn't even have a restaurant, can I just say. Anyways, and then on our way home, we visited a couple more little towns. And so by the time we came home from this 5-day vacation, we had purchased 200 books and had taken about 50 books out from the library. So, knowing all of that, I still packed 8 books in my suitcase and got 14 audiobooks from the library. So those are my books on vacation rituals. I cannot be without a book. And so yeah, I always pack way more than I actually need. Question 4. What's your favorite book that you found or read first while on vacation? I read a lot on vacation, and so I can't really remember some of the specific books, but I do have a great story of a book that I purchased on a vacation. So in, I think it was 2008, my husband and I went to Zurich for 10 days. He was there, he was doing a 5-day course for his MBA, and then we took another 5 days after that to enjoy the area. So while he was in his course during the first 5 days, I would take the tram down to, mostly I spent my time in Old Zurich, which was gorgeous, but I found this little bookstore that I wandered into, which of course was full of books I couldn't read because they were in, I don't know, French or German or whatever languages. But this woman that owned the bookstore, she was so fantastic. She attempted to talk to me. Oh, and I desperately needed to use the bathroom, and so I was trying to communicate with her that I needed a toilet, and is there one that I could use, and she very graciously let me use her own personal bathroom. But anyway, I discovered one little spinny rack that had English books. They were the only books in English in her store, and so I perused that rack, and I found, and I can't remember now, but it was either a Dorothy L. Sayers or a Nia Marsh, and I was so excited. And so that was the book that I purchased on my vacation in Zurich. Question number 5. Have you ever light-fingered a book from a vacation stay? No. I may have been tempted, but I have a hugely guilty conscience with stuff, and I would never ever take a book that I wasn't allowed to. If they have like take a book, leave a book areas, which I think is fantastic, I would totally make use of that, but no, I would never ever steal a book. I wouldn't be able to handle it. My conscience wouldn't be able to handle it. Question number 6. What are some of your favorite books set in exotic locales? So I do have a few here for you. Agatha Christie's Murder in Mesopotamia is great. It is set, of course, in the Near East. I have Edward Rutherford's Russka, which is great. I love Edward Rutherford's historical books. They are just these sweeping sagas of generations of families within a specific area. And so Russka is, I believe he takes the stories of 4 families who are divided by ethnicity but united in shaping the destiny of their land. And it spans 1,800 years of history. Robert Thorogood's Murder in the Caribbean. This was great. I love this series. These are the from the Death in Paradise series, and this guy's involved in that show, and he's also written a few books about the same characters. This is the original detective in the series, D.I. Richard Poole. And so yeah, this one was great, set on a Caribbean island. And then finally, the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series by Alexander McCall Smith. I would love to visit Botswana one day. I think it's fantastic, and of course all I really know about it is what I learned from these books, but it sounds great. So yeah, there are a few books that are set in exotic locales. Now, the seventh question is a bit of a jokey question that Steve Donahue wrote about the coronavirus. Now, he published his video with this original tag on February the 18th, and at that time we had no idea what would happen with COVID-19 and that it would turn into a worldwide pandemic. And so I totally appreciate being able to joke about certain events in our world, but I'm not going to answer this question now because we're kind of right in the midst of the worst of it for Canada and the United States anyway. And so, but you know what, it doesn't offend me. I don't mind. I appreciate being lighthearted about some of this stuff. So yeah, we'll just skip over to the next question. Question number 8. What was the last book you read while on vacation? And this, I'm going to talk about our book Odyssey Vacation again, because I read Max Braithwaite's Why Shoot the Teacher. I'm going to insert a picture of it here. He wrote this book in 1965, and I picked this book on purpose to read during our book Odyssey because Max Braithwaite was born and spent his childhood in Nokomis, which is a village in Saskatchewan of 436 people, and we visited it during our book Odyssey. And so I thought, if we're visiting a place that is the birthplace of a writer, then why not read that book? And so the book is about his experiences as a teacher in Depression era Saskatchewan. And it was pretty good. It was not bad. But we visited Nokomis. I'm going to put some pictures here. Nokomis has a great branch library. It's small, but we still managed to take out, I think we took out 5 or 6 books from the library. And we also visited the museum. This is a small town, 436 people, but they have a great museum. It's I think set for during the time period in the early 1900s, like the 1910s, 1915, and there's a house that you can walk through all the rooms, and everything in it is from that time period. And there's a little street with all the shops and what they would have had and what they would have sold at that time period. It was a great little museum. So we had a fun little vacation time. We spent the afternoon there in Nokomis, birthplace of Max Braithwaite. So yeah, I read Why Shoot the Teacher from 1965. And then finally, the 9th question is to tag some people. I tried to check to see who's done this tag because I'm a little late to the show here. And I don't think these people have done it, so I'm going to tag the Bookish Bryants. I love their channel. They are fantastic. So Scott and Becky, I'm tagging you for the vacation book tag. And Berna at Berna's Bookish Adventures. I love her channel. Berna, you're so awesome. I've loved watching your videos. Berna is from Turkey and she just puts out some great content. So I'm going to link to their channels down below. You guys are tagged, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.